Hey, good morning, guys. How are you doing? Today, I want to go back to our like 60s and 70s era. I want to do two songs by a man who quite simply wrote beautiful music. There's a little bit of controversy with him, but he also had a little bit of a tragic end. But I want to give you a little bit of history about him. We're going to be doing Jim Croce. Like I said, the first song we're going to do is "I Have a Name." I don't know how many of you know too much about Jim Croce, but I'm just going to do a real quick rundown about him because he's kind of an interesting guy. I mean, he's again from my parents' generation. He's actually would if he were alive today, he'd be about 7 years older than my mom and dad. But he actually passed away the year after my little sister was born in 1973. He actually was active in releasing albums between 66 and 73. So his professional career wasn't even 10 years long. He was born in South Philly. He was born to immigrant Italian American parents, and he actually went to Villanova, where he majored in psychology and German, and he DJ'd. And he DJ'd at college, and then later on in life DJ'd again at a professional radio station. But anyway, in the 60s, well, when he was at Villanova is where he met his wife, Sylvia, who happened to be Jewish. And he did end up converting to Judaism for her. And I don't know how many of you are... Let me just bring this down for a minute so we can talk about this for a minute. I don't know how many of you are actually familiar with the Jewish religion, but you're only Jewish if your mom's Jewish. A lot of religions are actually patriarchal driven, meaning male driven. However, the Jewish religion and Judaism is actually matriarchal driven, meaning you could be a woman married to a Jewish man, which my mother was, and have as many, and if she doesn't convert, you could have as many babies as you want, but those children are not officially... We're doing the light thing again. There we go. Those children are not officially Jewish unless the mother converts to Judaism. Yeah, that's kind of how it works in the Jewish religion. Jim Croce did convert to Judaism, and therefore the one child that they did have, a son, was born Jewish. He never took music seriously early on in his life. In fact, it wasn't until he got to Villanova that he started different bands and stuff like that. Through college, that he actually started thinking about music as a career at all, or started taking it seriously as a career. And when he married his wife, his parents gave them $500 as a wedding gift, with the condition that he make an album with it. And at the time, his wife was his partner. They were a duo, and they would perform. So anyway, they give him this $500 with the condition that they make an album with it, with the hopes that they would fail miserably, and he would finally realize he's not a musician and use his degree for what it was meant to be. Not to be a musician, but I don't know, to be a German psychologist? I'm not really sure. What do you do with a bachelor's degree in psychology and German? Nothing. You go to grad school. I know because, well, I don't know. Well, I do know because I happen to be a therapist, and I do know that you have to go on to get your at least master's level, easy, at least go on to your doctorate if you want to be a psychiatrist. Um, but to be a psychologist and be able to practice and be licensed to practice therapy, you have to at least have a master's. So, a little fact on that. But anyway, guess what, Mom and Dad? It didn't work. You got to understand, this was also during what? We've talked about this a million times before. It was during the Vietnam War, right? He got his draft notice. And he did what my birth father did. And I think a lot of people did. If you were against the war in any way, and you didn't want to be a draft dodger, meaning run to Canada or just run in any manner, shape, or form, or burn your draft card, he did what my birth father did, which was join the National Guard to avoid actually having to go over there and fight, which was very different than this war, actually, where National Guardsmen, the majority of the fighting force over in Iraq and then Afghanistan, because we were training. I know my ex-husband at the time was part of what was called an ACRC unit. They were all higher echelon NCOs and officers, meaning high ranking, active duty, and their job was to train the National Guard's units prior to them deploying over there. So the majority, I would say 2/3 of the fighting force over in Iraq and then later in Afghanistan were National Guard. So we kind of flipped the coin on them. But back in Vietnam, you could join the National Guard and you would have to go to basic training and everything like that. But the chances of you actually going to Vietnam were slim to none. And that's what Jim Croce did. But he was so bad with authority figures and taking orders and doing everything, he actually had to go to basic training twice because he failed it the first time. And I think there's a famous quote of his that said, I would be the perfect soldier over there if we were fighting with mops and brooms or something like that. Anyway, that was his take on how well he did. But when that was done, when he met with a record producer at that time, who was the same record producer who did his stuff later on, Tommy West. And Tommy West actually convinced him and his wife to move to New York City. And they recorded their first album with Capitol Records. During the next 2 years, they drove more than 300,000 miles, playing small clubs, concerts, school, colleges. And you know what? The school college concert, the college concert circuit, was always Jim Croce's thing. To the day he died, that was pretty much his thing. But he really quickly, he became kind of disillusioned with the music scene, the professional music scene, everything like that. And he quit. He said, I'm done. And him and his wife went back to like rural Pennsylvania, and he started doing things like he drove truck, he did construction, he did welding. He just did like regular Joe jobs. For the next few years. And then a college friend of his reached out to him from Villanova and introduced him to what would be basically his music partner for the remainder of his life, for the remainder of their lives, tragically. Maury, who was from Trenton, New Jersey. They met through, producer Joe Salviano. And they had been friends at Villanova, signing a 3-record contract with ABC Records, releasing 2 albums, You Don't Mess Around with Jim and Life and Times. And then in 1973, the Croce family moved to San Diego, California, where he began touring the United States. The two of them did performing in large coffee houses, college campuses, folk festivals. But his financial situation was still bad. The record company had fronted him the money for the album, which is what, and much of what it earned went to pay back the advance. So many groups end up getting caught in this thing. Even today, with these younger artists, it doesn't matter what their genre is, they end up getting caught up in these what's called 360 deals, where it's just a mess. You end up paying, you sign thinking you're going to get this much money, but then they say, yeah, and then you go on tour and you do this and that, you make the record, and then they say, well, where's my money? Well, your money, what money? The money went to pay for the bus. The money went to pay for all the staff. The money went to go pay for the tour. The money went to go pay for this, that, the other, the record, da 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 da. And in the end, you're broke. So they went to Europe and started promoting the album in London, Paris, Amsterdam, Monte Carlo, Zurich, Dublin, and Croce began to appear on various television shows as well. I'm not going to name them all. The song we're going to do today, called I Got a Name, he finished recording. This is just the sad part about all this. Okay, so the song we're going to do today, which is called I Got a Name, he finished recording it. Okay. I've Got a Name, he had just finished recording a week prior. He had also just written a letter to his wife, basically saying that, you know what, I'm done with this. It's just not, for the second time, he was done with music. He was just like, this is not working out. It's just not my dream. It's just not working out. I want to go home. I want to spend time with my family. And I want to write screenplays, or I want to write a book, or I want to do something creative, but I'm tired of the touring. I'm tired of not being around my family. I'm tired of the music industry in general. And they had just done a concert at Northwestern State University in Louisiana that night. They actually performed that song that night. They go to the airport. They go to get in the plane. They go to take off, to get off the runway. The pilot, they go to take off, and the wing of the plane clips the pecan tree. They don't clear it. They don't even get off the runway, really. I mean, they just kind of... And the plane crashes, and every single person in it dies. He was 30 years old. Now, the album was put out posthumously. His wife didn't even receive that letter until, I think, probably a week later, because he had sent it on the road. But can you imagine? It's just so tragic. Such a talented, not just a talented storyteller. We're just gonna go ahead and key it up. I just wanted to give you some history because it's just so tragic. Just the way his life was snuffed up like that, And how many fantastic artists and legends have we lost in little crop duster airplanes going from one concert to another? How many? I mean, if you guys know, on a quick count, or want to look it up for me and leave it in the comments, let me know, because there's been quite a few. Okay, here we go. Oh, this is live, 1973.
Line in the winding road. I got a name. I got a name. Like the singing bird and the croaking toad. I got a name. I got a name. And I carry it with me like my daddy did. But I'm living the dream that he kept here. Moving me down the highway, rolling me down the highway, moving ahead so life won't pass you by. Like a north wind whistling down the sky, I got a song, I got a song. Like a whippoorwill in the baby's cry, I got a song, I got a song. And I carry it with me and I sing it loud. If it gets me nowhere, I go there proud. Moving me down the highway, rolling me down the highway, moving ahead so life won't pass me by. I'm gonna go there free. Like the fool I am and I'll always be. I got a dream, I got a dream. They can change their mind, but they can't change me. I got a dream, I got a dream. I know I could share it if you want me to. If you're going my way, I'll go with you. Moving me down the highway, rolling me down the highway, moving ahead so life won't pass me by. Moving me down the highway, rolling me down the highway, moving ahead so life won't pass me by.
So that was I've Got a Name. I love that song. It's a great song, right? So there you go. Have a cup of coffee, guys. At least a couple more. And you guys have a great day. And remember, if you're passing through or you're just stopping by, remember to leave a comment, to like and subscribe, and have a great day. And take care of each other because no one else is going to, right?